Welcome to the Reclaim Leader podcast. I'm Jason Tucker.
And I'm Jesse Skiffington.
We're two pastors in the trenches who are passionate about church health for greater gospel impact.
We share the ups and downs of ministry, strategies that worked for us,
and some that didn't.
Best practices and practical tools for church leadership.
The goal, to help all of our churches flourish. Let's get started.
See another sunrise, sing a little song.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reclaim Leader podcast. Jesse and I now are on the same, at least, screen together. Jesse, I was away on a mission trip and Jesse was able to fill in, did a great job, Jesse, and take one solo. Though, isn't it hard to do it solo? It's like,
honestly, not my favorite thing, man. Like,
right? It's like,
who am I going to bounce ideas off of? Like,
there's no back and forth.
I don't have all the answers. I got more questions than answers. I'm supposed to be saying something that moves the needle for people. What are we doing?
No, it was great though. You did a really nice job. And so mission trip, both my boys were on it, so it was really special for me. But I'm definitely still recovering. It was a 10-hour drive. So
and speaking twice a day or some craziness, right?
Yeah. Speaking twice a day. So it was
on an air mattress all week long with earplugs.
Yeah, it was a lot of
wildfire smoke and just living your best life there.
Yeah, it's just it was great though. It really was. I was so proud of the kids.
Awesome.
And I came back and it was the first time in many years that I have done a camp with the teenagers. Mm-hmm. And I had remembered why I loved it so much. It was great. I needed the break because now coming back, I just feel like, oh man, this is awesome. I really miss this. This is amazing.
Yeah, and somehow, and that's your youth pastor heart. I mean, that's from the beginning. But there is something about, even if it's hard work and maybe a little wearisome in some respects physically or whatever, different can be really good. Like just changing the scene a little bit and getting back in touch with kind of something you did before in ministry. I don't know. We welcome back our youth from their big trip that they just took last night. My daughter was on the trip, and just like the joy of like that experience and kind of remembering the things that are foundational in our lives. It's important for us, I think, because that's what keeps us going in ministry. And today we're talking about, I think probably for the 8th year or 9th year in a row, whatever, on this podcast, planning for the fall. And this is super important. But after you've been at it for a number of years, you're like, planning for the fall. Here we are again.
I know.
Another fall. And I mentioned before we hit record, I was just talking to a pastor who's now retired, 40 straight Christmas Eve years, like 40 years of Christmas Eve services. I mean, like,
it's a lot.
Like, dang, that's a lot. And yet these things, these habits of planning and preparing, I mean, they're all investments in the kingdom work that we are called to. And if we can do this work well, then I think there's a lot of life and good things that come out of them. So we're touching back on this topic again, some important reminders, and you're bringing 4 questions today that we're going to wrestle through.
Yeah, and I think I wonder if it's, this part of me, I've actually always liked the beginning of a new school year, and I love buying the new notebooks. And I know people don't buy notebooks anymore, but and getting books and the sort of excitement of the new kind of chapter of learning. And I wonder if there's some of that going on for me in the summer, but I do love thinking ahead and strategizing about the fall as I'm spending, and part of it's I'm spending so much relational time with people during these months that it's getting me excited and giving me ideas about what could be. One of the things that happened that really sort of got me thinking about this was there's a young woman that came to talk and was talking about how she wanted to next level her faith. She didn't know what to do. She was in college. She's sort of struggling with feeling like she's all alone as a Christian in a big party environment. And we talked, and my wife Karen was there too, and we were all able to talk, and it was good. But the thought occurred to me, how do I mobilize another young person in the church who could really connect with her in a better way, in a more practical way, like with social media, with all that other stuff. And so I thought of this other young woman who has been, I guess, quasi on staff doing a bunch of things for us. And I'm like, let me see if I can connect them. And I reached out to her. I said, would you ever want to meet with this girl? And she's like, absolutely. That would be awesome to feel like I'm being used in that way. Mm-hmm. so for the last month, they've been meeting and they started attending the young adult Bible study together.
Excellent.
And have formed a friendship. And I feel like, how do we do this more? And what I mean is, how do we get in the habit of connecting lay people with lay people rather than thinking it's always got to be a staff thing to connect with people, when the best thing may be us just doing a good job of like, hey, I feel like you would benefit hanging out with him or her or whatever. And so that got me thinking a lot about the fall, and things that I want to really emphasize with my staff is how are we spending more relational time? And second, how are we then leveraging the relationships that we know to connect people and build more relationships with each other? And because that's where the discipleship needs to happen.
I love it, man. I think that's spot on thinking, and helping our staff go from being the person for everybody to facilitating great relationships.
Yeah.
And my friend Becky Lana, I think Becky, was Becky on the podcast?
Becky was on the podcast way back,
right? And Becky's awesome, but she has this amazing way of, I'd be walking with her and she'd be like, hey, Jesse, you need to meet so-and-so. You guys are both awesome. You're going to be great friends. And then she walks away. Like, I mean, it's just like, how do we help people connect and facilitate those kinds of relationships? Because I think you're right. That's really good thinking, and coming out of a response to something you were seeing and noticing and going, what is that going to mean for what we do this fall, and thinking ahead. Now, before we get into the questions, I did want to ask, is this something you schedule in your summer? Or is this like there's a point in the summer in which your heart starts turning toward the fall, or your head?
Oh, that's interesting.
Does that make sense?
It's more of the latter. More of the latter. I don't say by this date I need to start thinking about the fall. It just happens organically as I'm thinking about what's next. And so sometimes it's a little earlier in the summer, sometimes it's a little later. I always try to, and one of the reasons for this episode now at the end of July is there's still enough time to procrastinate a little bit.
That's right.
But also enough time to just get ahead of it a little bit. So I think this is kind of a sweet spot right now as we're looking forward to September through December.
Yeah. I'm with you. I've never, some of our pastor friends, they spend 2 weeks away or a week away, and they plan their sermon series for the whole year, and they kind of look through the calendaring and do all that. And so maybe it's a scheduling thing that you do and you just set aside time for it. But I'm kind of like you. There's a point in the summer where we've got enough summer behind us, and there's been enough kind of space for time away or doing different kinds of things, that then I start to look ahead. I know it's coming, and having done it enough, you and I, we know that planning ahead is going to make all the difference for the experience of the fall, and actually our ability to do things well and to take our ministry and actually have it be effective. So I love that. And there's this little bit of like twinge of panic, like it's coming soon. So there's an urgency, but then there's also like, there's some space still, like you said, for some creativity and just time to kind of brainstorm and think of ideas and ask good questions about where we're going this fall. So looking forward to diving into these.
All right, so let's do it. 4 questions. Question number 1, I want to start with something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But the first question that I was thinking about today was, what do I need? And that's not a selfish question. It's a really important self-awareness question. What do I need right now? And what do I need to bring before the Lord in prayer? Where are the gaps in my own life or in my own practices or habits? Or it's time to just take a look. I just need to do a little inventory and up Periscope and be like, okay, God, I'm being honest. What do I need? And for me, it's a very easy one. I feel like I've been on a sprint since February, since the book launched in February. And I feel like I've been on a sprint ever since. So all the way church stuff, all the way up to Easter, and then a combination of church and personal stuff all the way till now. And I need to do a better job of resting. I'm just really not having a good 6 months or whatever it's been. And I'm feeling it. I'm definitely feeling a little weary. So I need to figure that out. And part of the reason is we lost our family vacation this year because of the way the schedules fell for high school football for both boys. So it's, how do I make sure I don't just but really try to take some time to do that. But I think that's an important thing to address. Like, what is it that I need before I'm ready to go sprinting into another season? How do I make sure I'm catching my breath? Or maybe for you, it's something else, or maybe for other pastors, it's something else. But for me, that's like the burning issue right now.
Yeah. What does rest look like for you? I mean, the vacation's off the table, it sounds like, which, those things happen scheduling wise. So what do you do to find rest in other ways?
I really need to lean into those. I need to lean into things that force me into a slower pace. And it's something as simple as I just need to take a beach chair and go sit on the beach for a little while, or I need to go for a walk on one of the trails. We got 1 million parks and trails around us. I need to go, I need to do something that really requires nothing of me, but to just slow down.
Yeah.
And don't bring work with me, even if it's for just a couple of hours. I just need to silence my phone or put on do not disturb or something and just try to get some time, because then I feel like my soul starts to open up, and I don't know, that gives me a lot of rest.
All right. So before we go any further, Jason, I want you to just write down, put it on your calendar, do it, right? Like those are tricky things. It's like, because I'm with you. I feel that same, like it's been kind of a go into the summer, and I'm starting to see the air clear, but I'll feel it back in real fast. We'll talk about this in a little bit about some of our staff stuff that's coming up, but it'll fill up. So preserving that, and you often, you talk about what gets scheduled is what gets done, and giving yourself permission to schedule 3 hours in the morning to be off site on the clock, resting, doing something a little different. I think that's really powerful and important. And I imagine most of your congregation would be like, yes, that's what Jason needs to be doing. It's good for him, and it's good for us in the end. So pastors, if you need permission, Jason just gave it to you. You can
just gave it to you, man.
Let's do it.
And I just got my new calendar for the year, so I'm already filling in the rhythm of things I want to make sure that I have planned, which is really good.
And you're so disciplined at that. I was looking at my time management. I'm like, I got to get my act together again. It's one of those things, those disciplines that drifts. So
it'll slide.
Yeah. Maybe that's what you need, or that's what I need. I feel like I need to get a handle on my time again. That's kind of what I need for the fall. And so how am I going to do that? What steps am I going to take to make sure I don't just keep showing up every day going, whatever comes my direction is what I'm going to look at. Like that's a quick way to burn out. So that's what I need. I need to figure out my time management again in this new season of ministry. Sounds like you need some rest. So what do you need? Those of you listening out there, what are you going to do to just kind of take care of yourself as you get ready for the fall?
Yeah. Second question, what are our ministry goals as a church for fall 2026? What have we prayerfully talked about that? Where do we want to start filling the gap between who we are and where we want to be? What does that look like? And I think if your church does not have ministry goals, it's not the end of the world, but I do think it makes things better when you know exactly what you're shooting for, because then you have a better shot of everybody rowing in the same direction. Hey, these are the 2 things, don't have 7 things. Like, these are the 2 things we really want to see more of. So for us is, how do I leverage more one-on-one connections with members like I just talked about?
Yeah.
And second, a big thing for us is we want to improve our engagement in men's and women's ministries. Those are kind of our 2 goals. Everything else we're going to kind of keep doing and do the same. But what we want is, if all the ministry areas of thinking of those goals, then you're already going to be looking for solutions together. And it's just the awareness of that helps you start to make decisions that address them. So, again, in our young adult ministry, for example, how do we do what I just saw this last month? How do we connect some of our young adults and they're the hardest in a lot of ways. One is I'm painfully aware that our church is really optimized for families and not singles. And I feel, Karen just had had lunch with somebody, single mom, and who wasn't mad or anything, but just like, man, it'd be great if we had more at the church for single mom. I'm like, I don't know that we really have anything specifically right now.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of figuring out where are those sorts of gaps and then how do we create some more one-on-one connections? One thing I want to see our staff do is just maybe we need to build this into everyone's job descriptions, but like some sort of relational goal that, hey, once a month, I'm going to take somebody out for coffee or a meal. And we've just got to do more of that because as we've gotten bigger, there has been less personal time with people. And if you have a small church, you have all the advantages. So if you're not meeting with people, I just want to encourage you, do it. That's like your superpower right now is if you're a church where you feel like you can do that well, and to empower our lay people to do the same. That's the thing that I keep coming back to. It can't just be the staff. We've got to empower everybody to be doing this for us to be a church, really.
Yeah, no, that's spot on. And I think especially if as you grow, you start getting into just the functions of ministry take up more and more bandwidth. So, but the purpose of it all is relational ministry. So if we forget that connectedness and that discipleship happens in the context better in, circles and in relationships than in rows, like we got to have that habit. And you guys did what was that thing? It was a Lent thing you did. It was like one-to-one relationships and you met with somebody once a week.
Yes.
I can't remember. What was that called?
We started it in COVID when we couldn't really meet.
That's right. Yeah.
And we encouraged people to get into one-on-one relationships, and we had sort of a series of homework for them to do for 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was some content they had to listen to and discuss the sermon. They had to find a way to serve, and then they had to find a way to have fun.
Yeah.
Just do something fun.
It was really good. I mean, I think so. My point in bringing that up is one, nice job with that. We still have some people who are hanging out together after using that. I mean, years later, they're still close. And so it's a pretty simple idea that you guys used, but it brought people into relationship with each other that might not have otherwise connected or something. So I think there's ways to accomplish that. And for us, we're looking at in the fall, our micro discipleship groups, we call them, but basically groups of 3 where one person is sort of reading scripture with 2 others and helping them to think and grow and wrestle in faith with the intention of those 2 people then having relational discipleship happening on the other side of that for those that feel called to that kind of thing. So really emphasizing that aspect is kind of what we're working on this fall. And we're in our 3rd generation of those groups. And so we're trying to figure out is this something that's sustainable and what's this going to look like? But I'm hearing a theme from both of us of relational ministry context of empowering our people to be those people who are serving and ministering to each other and discipling each other and not just staff kind of downstream to other people. So good stuff.
So pastors, what are your ministry goals for fall 2026? And if you don't know them, that's fine. But I would encourage you, get together with your elders, get together with your leadership team, whatever that looks like for you, and to pick 2 or 1 or, just something so that you sort of know what you're shooting for here because things are going to get crazy so fast. So just getting ahead of it and having an idea of some focus is really, really helpful, I've found.
It is, yeah. And you can go crazy with some big goal that's like shoot for the moon and, I don't know, I guess you could do that kind of thing. Or just pick something that you've been meaning to work on and make that your goal for the fall.
Exactly.
You want to be a better guest at welcoming guests. Well, figure it out. Right? Pick something and work on it.
Yeah. Okay. So we've identified the what, theoretically. Then it's what's the direction? What is our pathway to getting there? What does that look like? So there's a few ways to tackle this question, but we've talked so much about pathways, but I don't want to assume that everybody knows what we're talking about in case maybe they're new listeners but the whole idea of the pathway is how do we create through the programs or offerings that we have, how do we create a pathway of engagement so that we encourage people to take a step in their faith, a series of interconnected steps to help them engage with their faith and with the church more.
Yeah.
So that's the direction. Say, okay, we have our 2 goals. So what are the pathways that we're going to use to get there? Now, in our case, we're still working on that, what we want those pathways to be.
Yeah.
But that is the next question. How are we going to get there? And so what we'll do first is we'll take a look at our usual calendar, September to December, and we'll start looking, okay, what do we already do that would make sense to be part of this pathway? So we have to reinvent the wheel. What are things that already work? How do we tweak it, or how do we sort of adjust things, or make a special focus on it this year to accomplish what we want to accomplish?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at your calendar, according to your, ministry goals, you're just asking three things. What are we keeping? What are we tweaking? And what are we deleting? And it's okay to take a year off from a beloved program. I know it's like
easy, Jason.
I know.
The first two I can get on board with. The deleting thing, that sounds like leading change in the local church. That sounds like the hard work of leadership.
Every time we don't delete something that we should, we always regret it.
Absolutely.
Because it always competes for our energy.
Yeah, sideways energy, man. It's brutal after a while. And actually, the things that need to be deleted, if we're honest, they take way more energy than the things that are working still, right? It's impossible to get people to serve, to come, to whatever, right? So I think that deleting thing, as part of our leadership stewardship, we got to be willing to have those conversations. And if it becomes a habit and people know, sometimes we start things and sometimes we end things, it's just part of our culture. Man, that's a good rhythm to get into. So I like the ad and, the tweaking, the deleting. I don't know.
Deleting, not so much. I get it.
Yeah, that's good.
But the whole secret of the pathways, you just have to know what the next step is, and you have to let your people know what it is before you get to it. That's what makes the pathway. So for us, let's say engaging young families is our pathway. We will have Tower Hill Day, which is inflatables and cider donuts and stuff. We'll do that in October. And at Tower Hill Day, we're inviting them to the pancake breakfast in November. Mm-hmm. Hey, you're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be great. It's part of our weekend of thanks that we do. And then at the weekend of thanks, hey, don't forget Christmas on the Hill coming up. That's our big outreach to young families. Then at Christmas on the Hill, hey, please join us for our contemporary or kid-friendly service with glow stick candle lighting on Christmas Eve. All you're doing is you're announcing at the current thing what the next thing is, and that's how you get them to take steps in the pathway. That's one of the big ways that you do it. So it doesn't have to be super complicated. You just have to know where are we trying to take everybody. The goal is, as they continue to take steps, they are becoming more engaged in their faith and in the life of the church. And
I think so. You've created a great context for pathways related to the relational ministry you want to do. So now the vision is for staff and key leaders, meet one person at each of those events that you're going to follow up with, and hand them off to each other or to somebody else, and introduce them to someone else in the church that you think they might get along with. Or now you're taking an existing framework and you're going to use that for those goals that you've come up with, that relational ministry stuff. And I love it. And out of Christmas Eve, I already know, because we talked enough times, you're going to point to the January sermon series and you're going to invite people to that. And there's going to be an event somewhere in that early part of the year that helps people feel connected. And so there's a rhythm to things that now you can take the goals maybe that are unique for the fall and plug them into the context of things that are already existing, and you don't have to reinvent everything. So I love it. It's really good stuff. So what else are we asking about that? So we got pathways. Are there other things we need to be thinking about in that third question?
Yeah. So, I mean, we do, to get a little more granular, we even think about what's our communication strategy? Mm-hmm. What do we have room for, or what do we need to make room for communication wise? Because communications get so cluttered so fast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How are we making this a priority? Mm-hmm. And what do we think the best rhythm of that will be? Because when you know that, then you can say no to the other things, right? Because you know what is most important during that season. So we'll take a look at that. And it's just sort of, I guess, just sort of depends on the pathway. Like, we may want to do a focus, like let's say when our fall small groups start, we might want to do a focus of at least one new small group that attacks an area that we see a gap.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of part of it as well. But this is something we do as a team. I don't just sit in a dark room and write everything, but we talk it through together.
Yeah. Super cool. I love it. Good stuff.
Yeah. Fourth question, and this has a few subsets because it's sort of a complicated one. I know you and I are dealing with this right now, but
boy, are we.
It's okay. We have the destination, we have the direction, Do we have the right vehicle to get there? And this has to do with systems, staffing, operations. So let's start with staffing. Our church, you could talk about Marine View as well, but our church, we have two sort of big staffing areas that are going to be vacant here. And that has a ripple effect. And one of them is our director of operations, executive director of operations. And so she was doing so much more than was even in her job description.
Sure.
So it's trying to unravel all of those things and make sure that they get cared for in the short term. And then temporarily, I'm going to have to step in as a director of operations. So we hire somebody else and handle those things or make sure they're getting handled. So staff is a big one. Do we have the right vehicle to get us where we want to go? And if the answer is no, what is it that we're missing? And that's why I love that org chart exercise where you put in what are the positions that we need and just leave them blank for now. But just to start getting a sense of, we need somebody to do this. And if we can't afford to pay somebody to do this, we need maybe 2 or 3 volunteers who'd be willing to focus on this, that kind of thing. But you're just sort of addressing what are the needs we have from a leadership perspective.
Right.
And for us, we're right in the middle of that.
Yeah. And us too. We were joking around. Sometimes I feel like we live parallel lives a little bit in ministry, but I was like, wow, why are we having so much staff turnover? We got people retiring and it's all natural rhythm of life kinds of things. But man, so one of the things we did with our office catalyst is her title. She's retiring here in September. And so basically we sat down and we put down every piece that's ended up on her plate, whether it's in her job description or has just become her job. So many things get kind of added along the way. We just kind of broke it all down into buckets. And then I was like, well, what buckets can we give back to people? Maybe you inherited them during COVID or whatever. And then what are the ones that maybe we can just leave that bucket to the side for a minute and see how important it is. And if it's important, we'll figure out a way to pick it up again. But then there were some core things. We're like, okay, we're going to build the future job description on these core things and kind of get back to those. But man, it is disruptive. And I'm looking at all these pieces of stuff that needs to get done. I'm thinking, okay, if I don't make a plan for this, it's going to end up back on my plate. Yeah. And it can only live there for so long, or whatever. But so, yeah, really important question. And I would say when we use the word staff, maybe you're part of a smaller congregation, think of key volunteer. Who is that person that can be the point person in that part of your org chart, even if it's a volunteer position, which sometimes volunteers, man, they can really move the needle and do some awesome stuff. So staffing, we mean who's the person that's going to help pull it off. And that's a big question, but that's not the only one. So staffing, and then we got a budget aspect. We've got
stewardship.
Yeah.
Where are we with congregational giving? Where are we with expenses? What do we need to? What do we need it to be in order to fund the ministry that we're doing? These are all live questions always, and we always have to be asking that. And I think the funniest thing is I was talking to somebody recently, and they were absolutely shocked to hear that Tower Hill doesn't just have a giant bucket of money that we can pull from and do whatever we want. I'm like, we're always just threading the needle. We're right up against giving versus expenses every single year. We have to make appeals and it's just part of it. So, for us, as we've been assessing this, we're on the fiscal year. So there's a little less pressure in the fall. December is always pressure because it counts for 2 giving months, really.
Right. Yeah.
But it's, we feel like we're good, but we have a capital campaign coming up that we're going to have to do because we got our bill. One thing we learned this summer is we can't go another summer with the current air conditioning system. So we have a big HVAC expense for the sanctuary, and it's $800,000. $800,000.
I'll do it for $600,000, Jason. So you just
800
get a lot of box fans for $600,000. Yeah,
that we just don't have sitting around. So we got to figure that out. So these are the stewardship. Do we have the right vehicle to get where we want to go? And if not, what are we going to do about it? So stewardship's a big question. And then what are some other systems? We just did another realignment. I don't know. Did you want to talk about stewardship before I jump to the next one?
I mean, we can nothing significant other than just to say we got to get the vision we got to get the why and the things in line before we start asking for resources, right? Like,
Yes.
so if you don't have your goals, or you don't have a like why this matters, or some sense of how it connects to the mission, you got to figure that piece out. But because I found, and I'm always surprised in a good way, when we do a good job of telling the story of what the need is and why it's important, people respond. It's the times when we're like, hey, it'd be nice if and we don't really tell that story well, that we're like, what happened? And, well, we didn't get the urgency piece of the mission. So anyway, we've got plenty of stewardship episodes, I'm sure. So go find some of those. But
So systems. So what we realized is, again, as we've been growing and changing, we realized the church, it feels like a different church every 6 months, and it's exhausting. But what it's forced us to do is to always be taking a look at our systems and making sure they make sense. So the big system that we knew was broken this year was, it felt like we didn't have the right ministry teams, and we didn't have the right relationship between the elders, deacons, and staff on all of those teams.
So a small thing that you guys are going to adjust, like that's like your whole organization.
It's everything, but if we don't adjust it, it's going to continue to be broken, and it won't serve anybody well. It won't help get us where we want to go. So we just realigned, we trimmed, we renamed, and so we boiled it down to 5 ministry teams and 3 operations teams, and figuring out, now we have all the elders in place, we're ready to go, and now it's a matter of just starting to kick it off. But we think this will give us a better shot at not only divvying up the work and responsibility, but a lot more clarity around what we're doing. So
clarity is so important in your organization. And I think even if you don't make huge changes, just by getting into the tinkering around a little bit, it actually brings people back to like, what are we trying to do and how are we organized to do it? And just, we don't have those conversations often enough sometimes. And so it's easy to kind of get to a point where we're like, are we driving the ship, or is the ship driving us? And the ship driving us is when we're not doing those tweaks like you were talking about to our ministry teams, our areas, and just kind of redistributing the work and for the season we're in now. And what does it look like? And so one recent thing we had, I talked about this, but we had our amazing worship director and building and grounds supervisor retired. Who's a worship guy and like is awesome and unique, right? Unique role. And so when he left, we were, we kind of, the obvious part is the worship music direction and worship life stuff. But then who's going to take all these other pieces? And so we had to really do some work on how are we organized for this now in this season, in this new way. So I love that you guys are having that conversation and kind of just working on the model. How are we going to pull this off, and what's it going to look like? So it'd be fun to see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Right. But again, Pastor, this is a great time to start thinking about this. And remember, you don't have to do everything all at once. If you just kind of, and maybe only 1 out of the 4 questions makes a lot of sense for you right now, pick that one. Whatever that looks like, it's different for all of us. But I think if we are intentional about right now, it's really going to help us thinking strategically about, where do we want to be Christmas Day, between now and so, I just want to encourage you, take the time, plan, get together with your team, make it fun, make it, hey, what do we really want to see? I mean, come on, let's go nuts here. Let's have some fun. Let's vision together. Let's do that. And people really respond well to that. I think if church is, if there's a lot more winsomeness and excitement, I just think it goes a long way. And it's something that's usually missing because everybody's got to be so serious all the time.
And collaboration is a huge thing. You said you and I rely on that all the time. I walked in from time away this summer, coming back feeling overwhelmed by the amount of things. And I think probably you pastors out there, you're probably with me. You're like all these 4 questions plus all the staff changes plus it just feels overwhelming. And then you remember something. At least I need to remind myself. I've only ever been as good as the people around me, right?
Yeah.
Like as leaders, we're better when we're in a team or in a group or collaborating with other people. And some of the best ideas and some of the work that needs to get done, people are going to pick up and run with it and do those things. So have some fun, as Jason said. If you're a serious person, you can still be serious and have some fun. But this is that season where we get to kind of reflect and then look ahead. And some discipline now can mean some greater joy and freedom later. So commend this to you. And Jason, thanks as always for bringing us 4 big questions, good questions to wrestle with, and looking ahead toward the fall already here.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks everyone for listening. I hope this has been helpful for you. And again, reach out to us anytime, Jason or Jesse at reclaimleader.com. We love talking to pastors and churches. But other than that, we're just, we're praying for us. We're praying for you. And most importantly, there are communities that are waiting to be reached by our churches. Mm-hmm. And what are we going to do to actually reach them? I think is a compelling question. So hope you find some energy in that. And also, if you're like me, that you find a little rest. And remember, we're in this together. As we say every week, ministry is hard. It is so much better when we do it together. So God bless everybody, and we'll catch you next time.